guys, I'm gonna turn my B-16 into a 18-wheeler. But first I gotta tape off a couple things because I'm gonna paint it army green. It's not the exact same as the cab. It's I wouldn't even say it's close. It's army color, I guess. I'm thinking about painting the cab. I might just paint it the same color just so it's all the same. But I just taped off my electronics real quick, and I wanted to show you my 3S LiPo ESC. It's like an unbranded ESC. It's got the cooling fins on there, and I got the 370 motor, and here's my platoon action figure driver. I'm gonna put some warm LEDs so that I could have blackout lights. I don't have any room because of my bumper is gonna be in the way to put the blackout lights where they're really supposed to go. They're supposed to go underneath the headlights there, and these are supposed to be the clearance lights. I already put this sticker on there, so I'm debating whether or not to paint it and just put military numbers on it and just leave it as it is. It's kind of close, I guess. But it's not exact. But yeah, here I painted it and taped everything off. I'm going to make a slider plate for my fifth wheel, and I just got a piece of plastic there and notched out I can't remember the measurement. In fact, I didn't even measure it. I just cut out a plate that was square and then winged it. And I'm going to use that center bolt that holds the suspension together there. And I'm going to beef this suspension up too. I'm going to give it double springs. It's going to have the double amount of springs that it has there. And this is where I like to align it. I like my kingpin to be aligned with the center of my suspension, just for a good all-around average weight distribution. I like super glue and I like hot glue, but some things need to be bolted down. So I drilled out some holes, put in some screws, filed down the screws so that it's smooth on the bottom there, so that the slider plate can slide, because it's going to be sliding in the center there, and I can adjust it to the load depending on what I'm carrying, how big the load is, and I can adjust for weight distribution. And oh yeah, right here I got some of this from the dollar store, some of this screen here that it's for like barbecue or like disposable deal, but it's aluminum. It works really great. I also got to make some bigger quarter fenders here out of these paint can, the rattle cans. Make some good fenders, except for you gotta watch out for these little ribs here. Get one like this that has all smooth there so that it comes out better. I was hoping the black one was gonna work, but it looks like I'm gonna have to use this one because that's all I got. I'll just paint it black, but luckily I got this rubberized paint for like bumpers and like corner fenders and stuff like that. That works really good. A lot of people like to paint their Land Rover fenders black, and that paint is actually the paint you should use, because it's made for exactly that. Alright, so here's my little antennas from a FlySky receiver that I used because I don't use them. I hide all my antenna wiring, and I'm going to hide all my electrical wiring. You're not going to be able to see it because of this screen. Is going to hide a lot of that, and I'm going to use some thin wire. And sorry, I'm losing my voice here. Yeah, the slider plate is working pretty good there. I got about that much adjustment for weight distribution. So if the load isn't very heavy and I got a big trailer box, I could slide it all the way back. And working pretty good there. I can slide it forward for a heavier load to put more weight on the front axles to take load off the trailer. Yeah, so that's basically what that's for. Weight distribution. so it's interchangeable. So this is how they do it in real life. They have a bolt there that's plugged into the truck, and you just twist on your quarter fenders when they break off, because fenders and mud flaps break off quite often. Yeah. So yeah, this screen stuff that I put on the truck is gonna hide all my wiring. It's gonna help it not so noticeable. Plus, I used small wiring. Oh, and here I also didn't like how these gas tanks are, and a lot of people don't. And I didn't want to buy new ones or anything, so I extended them out with these spacers from the bushings. I made used them as spacers, so that the tank can be stuck out. The guy can actually look like he could fill it up. And then I painted it silver or something, just to make it look a little nicer. So next, this truck's gonna need mud flaps, and I used these pieces of metal that come from wipers. When they're all worn out, they have these little wiper blades, have these little metal pieces in there, and I used strips of aluminum to hold down my mud flap as close as possible to what they look like in real life. And I made a brace there that's kind of how they look too, but in real life they have a little pin, and they can slide out, and you can change them out, because mud flaps get ripped off, and you can change that bar out. And some guys put chains on that metal bar on the inside of the mud flap, and that helps from the mud flap getting ripped off if you got a good solid bar that holds your mud flap on there. I had to come up with the reverse light, and they usually have them in the back of the truck on the semis, in the middle of the truck right there, a little spotlight. And the marker lights and blinker lights in the back are just on one unit that have blinkers and signal lights. That's how they do it in real life. They have LED setups, but most common is just one little light box. And it's turning out pretty good. I like this truck a lot. I had some chains on the side and some license plates. So my reverse lights are usually one LED, but you can use two, and I plug them directly to my motor. When it's going reverse, it activates them because the LEDs are polarized. So that's kind of how that works. I don't know if anybody else is the one that came up with it, but I just thought of it and started doing it, and I mentioned it to one of my favorite buddies. His name's Hobby Daddy. If you haven't seen his channel, he likes semi-truck stuff too. He's a good RC model guy. I came up with that idea of the reverse lights, and I just thought it wasn't too big of a deal. It's pretty simple. Just clicked one day, hook them up to my motors, because they do that all the time. I'm not the first guy to come up with this. They do that to RC, like cheap toy ones or whatever. When the car goes forward, it activates the reverse light or forward lights, and then the same thing for reverse. And I just thought that was pretty common. But yep, I'm the first dude that actually, on my one C14, the blue one is actually the one that I kind of mentioned that. But I've done it on my Land Rovers and everything.